It is a sacred obligation, that the time is short. We do not have 50 more years to waste. I doubt we have 5 years, because the earth is running out of patience. And these visitors, some call them guardians of life on earth, are not going to allow one generation of men to destroy the biosphere and the planet and the promise of humanity. Because this planet has been here to give birth to the evolution of intelligent life and the evolution of enlightened civilizations. And that's the time we're in. And there is no force on earth, and I have said this to the head of Army Intelligence in the United States, no force on earth, no military power, no financial interest will any longer deter the coming of this new civilization. It is upon us, and nothing can stop it now. By 1993, I had been approached by a number of people in the United States military command and intelligence agencies. Some of them were unhappy with me. Too bad. One of them, the head of Army Intelligence, said, "Who the hell do you think you are? Going outside of channels, making contact, and doing this openly. You can't do this." I said, "Yes, I can. And you know what? I'm going to train thousands of people to do it." And they are, all over the world. There's nothing you can do about it. And we're going to collect all the evidence, and we're going to bring it out to the people, and we're going to tell the truth, and we're going to bring out the energy systems that have been withheld, and release the people of the world from the economic slavery of a zero-sum game of fossil fuels. I said, "What are you going to do about it?" And he said, "I guess we'll have to see." Later I learned he was very jealous. Why? ¿Por qué? Because this man was in a black box. A little black box. Aquí. Nada. Nada. And he was trapped. And you know what's wonderful about all of us? Because I'm nobody. I'm just a country doctor from Virginia. We're free. They don't own my soul. Not the intelligence community, not the military, not the oil cartels, not the money whores. We're free. And this gives us enormous power that we don't acknowledge. And we have to acknowledge our power and now use it. So by 1993, a group of us got together. We said, what are we going to do? We can take this contact quite far. But we have to inform the people that we're not alone. And more importantly, that these extraterrestrial civilizations are here to help us and to understand us and to be here when we become a mature civilization ready to go into space peacefully. None of them are hostile, by the way. If they were, this conference wouldn't be happening. We wouldn't be breathing the free air of Earth, and I'll explain in a moment why. So I was eventually approached by some people, and we started something called Project Starlight. Originally it was Starlight, then it was Disclosure Project. But when it was small and very quiet, it was Project Starlight. And if you go to, you can Google this, the Associated Press reported that the Clinton Library was sued under Freedom of Information, and they had to release these documents about Project Starlight, providing briefings to the president. And that was me. So in my spare time, between taking care of shootings and stabbings and car wrecks in the emergency department, I was shuttling up to Washington. I get a FedEx to my house, and in the FedEx is a letter. And it says, Dr. Greer, you're going to be the first person to brief the president and the sitting CIA director on this subject. And I turned to my wife, and then I laughed. I said, no, impossible. Ridiculous. This is a prevarication, just to try to trick me into going and telling them what I know. They were telling me the truth. God help me. I had a 3-hour meeting with the CIA director, R. James Woolsey. And in this meeting, I learned that he, the president, and the Secretary of Defense, and others in his administration, had been denied access to the secret projects dealing with this subject. And he was virtually in tears because he learned that the presidency and the executive branch of America had been decapitated, cut off. This is precisely what Eisenhower warned about when he said, beware the military-industrial complex. He was not anti-military. He was talking about this secret government complex that would hijack this and other issues and lie to the president. And for this reason, we learned that the administration was terrified of dealing with this. Ultimately, we put together a very large briefing document, about 600 pages. Most of it is in the DVD, 2-hour DVD. You can go to disclosureproject.org and get it. You can get whatever I gave to President Clinton. And you will see that we gave a number of recommendations. And at the end of my meeting with the CIA director, I said, look, here's some recommendations of what the president can do to fix this huge problem. End the secrecy, bring out the technologies, and what have you. And the CIA director, Woolsey, turned to me and he said, how do we disclose that which we don't have access to? It was a terrible moment. Terrible, really. Now, I'm one of the few people living who has had these sort of meetings. And in the aftermath of this meeting, I learned that the president himself had been denied access, as well as his chief of staff and others. One of his friends later came to my home and said, Dr. Greer, the president's very supportive of what you're recommending, but he's concerned that if he does this action, he will end up like John F. Kennedy, assassinated. And I burst out laughing. I thought he was joking. He was not joking. He said this in front of my children. I have 4 daughters. And I thought, my God, be quiet now. And at that moment, I realized I had really stepped into a situation. So that was in 1994. Subsequently, I had provided briefings for people on the Senate Intelligence Committee, members of the Joint Staff. Later, I briefed the head of intelligence for the Joint Chiefs of Staff, as well as the head of the Defense Intelligence Agency. And in each of these, in every case, these were men who were in very high position within the National Military Command hierarchy, who had been deliberately denied access to these projects. We are ready for this. 80% of Americans believe these are real, these UFOs, and that part of the government's hiding it. When I started the Disclosure Project, it was only 35%. When I first briefed the CIA director, only a third of this majestic group, the super secret group that keeps this information secret, 200 or 300 people, I know some of them, I've met with some of them. Now, 70% of them want this out. The other 30% want to see me go away, as you can well imagine. I'm not going anywhere unless they take me out in a coffin, because I am dedicated to getting this truth out to the world, making peaceful contact, and bringing out the technologies to establish a sustainable and peaceful civilization on this planet. But we can only do it with your help. Thank God for Pepon and all of these people who are doing this in Spain. The United States has a black budget, a secret, unacknowledged budget. And the proper term is an unacknowledged special access projects, USAP. These are projects for which there is no constitutional oversight by Congress and no knowledge by the President, completely. This document is from the National Reconnaissance Office, Central Security Service. The National Reconnaissance Office is the top secret spy agency that has satellites, many of whom are trained on tracking extraterrestrial vehicles with advanced weapon systems to destroy them. This is a crime against humanity. This is a restricted special security advisory, blue fire. And here's your distribution list. Look at the second one, Royal Ops. Look at this one, Cosmic Ops. I think Bob Dean may have told you about the cosmic clearance. Here it is in a 1991 document. Now, this has not been declassified. I have thousands of these. Don't ask me where I got them. Magi Ops. This is majestic. Magi Ops. Magi Op. Consec Ops. And it goes down. And here are some of the code numbers. Now I want you to look at these. Red Flag Military Operating Center, Dart East Military Operating Center, Dart South, Pahut Mesa. That's in Area 51. No one calls it that in the business. Sally Corridor, Groom Lake, Dreamland, Ground Star, Blackjack Team. Blackjack Control is at Edwards Air Force Base in that facility. I know where all these are. I've been to most of them. Roulette Team, Aquatech, Sea Spray. This is near the top of the document that I gave to President Obama and his Secretary of Defense, Bob Gates, and his new CIA director. It is also a document that I shared with a man, an admiral, who was J2, the head of intelligence for the Joint Chiefs of Staff, Intelligence Directorate, an admiral. And when he found, I'm not going to say which one, but he found through this document that he had never seen and had no access to, an operational program inside his command at the Joint Staff level that he knew nothing about. Now, this is the admiral in charge of intelligence for the Joint Chiefs of Staff of the United States of America. Knew nothing. He called them up. Now, he told me this personally. I took Edgar Mitchell, the astronaut, into this meeting because I was sharing this information with Edgar Mitchell back then, before he came public. And one of these operations was under his command, and he called them up, and he said, I am Admiral so-and-so, and I want to be read into this project. Read into means briefed. It's military speak. And you know what happened? The people on the other end of the phone said, yes, Admiral, we know who you are, but we cannot discuss this with you. You do not have a need to know. And he was furious, and he said, God damn it, if I don't have a need to know, who does? I'm the head of intelligence for the Joint Chiefs of Staff. And they said, sir, we cannot discuss this with you any further. Click, cut the line, block me. Such are the things I have witnessed. This criminal enterprise that has kept this secret is a threat to the survival of the human race and of the earth. When I put these briefings together, Lawrence Rockefeller hosted the Clintons at his ranch, one of the old Rockefeller guys, and he wanted the truth out, but his brother David Rockefeller, Chase Manhattan Bank, doesn't. And Lawrence was the philosopher of the family. He went to Princeton with McDonald, old man McDonald of McDonnell Douglas Aerospace. And Lawrence really did want to get this fixed, but he got surrounded by people from the CIA that took all of his money and flushed it down the toilet. But when he was hosting the Clintons at his ranch, and he was going through all these materials that we had put together, Hillary Clinton stood up and said, stop. We don't want to hear any more. This is too dangerous. And that was the end of that. So by 1998, I had concluded that neither the Congress nor the President nor the United Nations, and I had met with the Boutros-Ghali family, the UN Secretary General, were going to stick their necks out on this. It was too hot to handle. Therefore, we did the Disclosure Project. Thanks to Dr. Bravo and hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of people who helped us do it. The extraterrestrials are visiting us. And in the last 6 months, the CSETI initiative has had unbroken, constant contact. Unbelievable. And I am certain that it will continue until we have reached the conclusion of this journey, this phase, this chapter in the human adventure. And I invite all of you to become ambassadors to the universe with us. You can all do it.